Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to go over how to play in pockets and in tight areas on the pitch. Now I'm going to start by saying if you have the ability to play in tight congested areas, you're going to be very dangerous and the opposition will be very scared of you. Because when there's space, anyone can play ready. So the opposition doesn't mind giving up space in less dangerous areas, for example out wide. However, the opposition needs to protect the more dangerous areas nearer to goal. And so if you're comfortable in those tight areas that's near the opposition's goal, they're going to start to panic because you're operating in areas that are threatening to the opposition and that can lead to scoring goals. And so we're going to talk about how to play in these areas and then some of the things you will need to be good in these type of areas. So the first thing you're going to need is close ball control. Now whether you play in tight spaces or not, having good ball control is important for all attacking players. But if you're someone who wants to play in tight congested areas, then your ball control should be really good. And if you're someone where your ball control isn't really good right now, that's fine. Ball control is a skill that you can learn, and you can learn fairly quickly if you put the time in. So when we mean close ball control, we mean the ability to manipulate the ball, which means making the ball do what we want it to do when we want to do it whilst keeping the ball close. And so you can obviously see why this would help us in tight spaces on the pitch. And so it's important that you're working on your close control when you're in tight spaces. I do have a few drills on my channel that do help with improving your ball control. So if you want, you can go check those out. But ultimately, you just want to get comfortable using the inside, the outside, and the sole of your foot. And so if you can master moving the ball with these three areas of your foot, your ball control should definitely improve. And also if you can, in your training sessions or even your matches, maybe try to hold the ball a little bit longer. That way you get more comfortable with the ball being at your feet. Because it's one thing to have the technical ability, but then it's another thing to be brave and try and use it. So make sure as you're improving your ball control in a technical sense, you're also challenging yourself mentally by using your ability when you're under pressure. So that's ball control covered. Now we're going to talk about body positioning and shielding. Now it's important to protect the ball away from defenders, and the best way for you to do this is to always position yourself in between the ball and the defender. And a player that was really good at doing this in his prime was Eden Hazard. So I suggest watching him because shielding the ball was a big part of his game. But if you want to be able to shield the ball well, you're going to need a good center of gravity and a decent amount of upper body strength as well. And also if you can, use your arms as well to help shield off and fend off the opponent. Now the benefit of you shielding the ball in tight areas is that it allows you to bring your teammates into the game. And so often you see this with strikers, they're able to shield and hold the ball up by sometimes pinning the defender. This then allows players to run off him or for the midfielders to receive the ball. And so if you see yourself as a more physically strong player, or even if you're not as physically strong, as long as you have good center of gravity and balance, this will still work for you. Because if you look at players like Messi or Hazard, they're not the strongest or the biggest even, but they can shield and hold the ball up very well because they have very good body balance. And so if you're more of a smaller player, I'll say work on your core strength and your balance, and this will definitely help you to protect the ball better. Next, we're going to talk about quick decision making in tight areas. So when you find yourself in tight areas, you're going to realize very quickly that you don't have long before the defender tries to tackle you, if they haven't tried already. And so it's important that you're aware of your surroundings and you know your options before you receive the ball. This way you can make fast and better decisions when you're under pressure, and one of the best ways you can do this is to always scan and check your shoulders. Top players, especially the players that are really good in tight areas, always talk about the importance of scanning and checking your shoulders. If you are someone that doesn't really scan or check their shoulders often, then you are going to find this a bit strange at first because you have to consciously tell yourself to keep checking your shoulder. But the more you keep telling yourself and checking, the more you get used to it. And you get to a point where you're automatically checking your shoulders and scanning the pitch. And also you'll get to a point where you notice your decision making is not only fast, but it's also the right decision for the right situation. And so there's no point in making quick decisions if they're wrong, especially in small spaces on the pitch. You want to be able to make the right decision quickly, whether it be showing some quick feet to beat the defender, or something simple like bouncing it back to a teammate and find a new space. Overall, it's important that you scan and take in all the information that's around you to make the best choices. Next, we're going to go over some passing and moving when we're in tight areas. Now, passing and moving is a great way for you to operate in small spaces, especially if you're a technical, nimble player. Because if you're passing and moving the ball in dangerous areas, you're then also moving the opposition around, which then creates gaps in the defense in which you can create chances from. And so this can be very effective at creating chances for not only your team, but also for yourself. For this to work well, you want to make sure that you're always on the move and that you have really good passing ability. For your movement, you should always be sharp and you should always be aware of the space that's around you. Also, one thing that's really helpful when it comes to movement is always staying blind side of the defender. And so sometimes you want to be just behind the defender, which means at that moment you won't be able to receive the ball. But if you are quick and sharp enough to get in front of the defender and receive the ball in the half turn and quickly move it again, by the time the defender reacts, it would already be too late because you've already played the ball. And so this can be really good at confusing and moving the opposition around. And for the passing side of things, you want to make sure that you're technically sound and that there's minimal mistakes. For this, you also want to make sure that you and your teammates are on the same wavelength. So know when to pass first time, or when to take a touch or two, or understanding when to do a give and go, or receive the ball and play out wide to stretch the opponent. These things are all important when it comes to passing and moving in tight areas. Now finally, we're going to talk about staying calm when you're under pressure in tight spaces. It is very easy to panic or lose composure when you're in congested areas, especially if your back's towards goal and there's defenders that are swarming around you. Trust me, I've been there myself. It can be really difficult, especially if the opponents are really aggressive. But panicking is the last thing you want to do because panic blocks you from showing your ability. You want to be calm and almost in a flow state. That way you can play off instinct and ability instead of worrying and overthinking. Now you will 100% make mistakes, but try and make those mistakes out of being creative instead of something like a poor pass or a bad first touch. Honestly, the best thing that's helped me and a lot of other players is to always put yourself in these pressured situations. Whether it be in training sessions or match day or even playing competitively with friends, you want to always try and put yourself in those pressured areas on the pitch. That way you're becoming more familiar in those situations, and instead of panicking, you're starting to play off ability and instinct, which is the best thing a player can play off. And because you can't really train calmness or being under pressure by yourself, at least not that I know of. And so you're going to have to take those opportunities, like we said, in matches and in training sessions. And so by doing that, it will definitely pay off and you become a much more confident player in tight spaces because of it. And so that's basically everything when it comes to playing in tight areas on the pitch. I really hope this video did help you. And remember, being able to play and operate in tight spaces is not the easiest thing at all. And some pros do struggle with this. The defender won't let you have the ball for more than a second or two. And so you'll most likely get a lot of fouls and pushes. It can be really hard to play forward sometimes, but all I can say is just try to embrace it. And again, be brave in those situations. Again, hope this video helped you, and I'll see you next time.